Thank you, Mr. President. We are on the measure again, the Shaheen-Portman Energy Efficiency, also known as Energy Savings and Industrial Competitiveness Act. An efficiency bill, Mr. President. This shouldn't be this difficult for us. When we talk about the benefits of an all-of-the-above energy policy, the benefits that can come to us as a nation when we are more resilient with our energy sources, when we're able to access our domestic energy sources, whether they be our fossil fuels, whether they be our renewables, whether they be nuclear. We all talk about it in good, strong terms because, quite honestly, energy makes us a stronger nation, access to our energy resources. I've defined a good, strong energy policy as one that allows energy to be more abundant, affordable, clean, diverse, and secure. Well, an energy policy is also about the energy that we don't consume. It's about the energy that we save because we are more efficient. It seems that we've gotten to a point, at least with some aspects of this discussion, that somehow or other the efficiency side of the energy discussion is a partisan debate, that Republicans don't support energy efficiency. I can't think of a more conservative principle, Mr. President, than conserving energy. This is something that we should be embracing, and it is something in terms of legislation that is sound, that is good to move forward, something that I support. This bipartisan efficiency bill has been refined, it's been strengthened, it's been improved over the past 3 years. There have been plenty of eyes upon this. There has been plenty of debate about it. We've got a total of 13 senators that are now on board with it, an equal number of Republicans and Democrats. So I'm pleased that we have this back on the floor again. The last time this came before us was in September. I spoke then about the importance, the relevance to today, the many good reasons that the Senate should support it. I'm not going to necessarily repeat all of those this afternoon, but I do want to just highlight quickly a couple of the main points. And the first really is going directly to the policy side of it. Energy efficiency should be a broader part of our nation's energy policy. It is good for our economy, it's good for our environment, it enables us to waste less, to use our resources more wisely. Who can object to this? Who could possibly say that this is not a good thing that we should encourage? And there is more. Think about what it does to help create jobs and deliver financial benefits. Study after study shows that we can save billions of dollars every year through reasonable efficiency improvements. Whether we're talking about small appliances or large buildings, there are opportunities for gains in efficiencies throughout the system. The second reason for support of the bill is that it envisions a more limited role for the federal government. When I think about efficiency, I think that the federal government should seek to fulfill three key roles. It can act as a facilitator of information that consumers and businesses need. It can serve as a breaker of barriers that discourage or prevent rational efficiency improvements. And as the largest consumer of energy in our country, it can lead by example by taking steps to reduce its own energy usage. And this legislation helps us make progress in all these areas, but it's appropriately tailored as well. It has a number of voluntary provisions. It does not contain any new mandates for the private sector, and I think that is worthy of repeating. There are no new mandates in this bill. When the legislation was first introduced some time ago, there was some concern about impact on building codes. But the provision related to the model building codes is voluntary. It is not mandatory. No one has to benefit from it if they don't want to. The third reason to support the bill is the cost, or really the lack of cost. We all know that we're operating at a time of high deficits, record debt. The good news is that this efficiency bill actually subtracts to our spending rather than adding to it. CBO has indicated that it will yield a modest savings of about $12 million over the 10-year window. Again, this is good from a policy perspective. It's good from a fiscal perspective. And then the last point, Mr. President, is one that I want to make in support of process. We have followed regular order, as well as regular order can be defined around here. But we've done that from the beginning with this legislation. Those of us that serve on the Energy and Natural Resources Committee reported it on an overwhelming bipartisan basis back in 2011 and then again in 2013. So it has gone through a fulsome committee process. Improvements were suggested and have been thoughtfully considered and incorporated. Many of the ideas are now incorporated in the text that we have in front of us. And then finally, just a few words about the amendments that are being filed to this bill. When we last had this bill before the Senate, we were unable to reach agreement on amendments. We got bogged down. The bill was pulled from the floor. The Senate moved on to other matters. Well, we're back again now, and I really don't want to see a repeat of that experience. And quite honestly, we don't need to. It's certainly true that a lot of amendments have been filed to the bill. We had more than 100 last September, but that should not be evidence that somehow or other this bill is flawed. But what it recognizes, Mr. President, is there's this pent-up demand for a discussion on the issue of energy. There is a pent-up demand to bring forward ideas and concepts and innovation and policy when it comes to the energy debate. It's been more than 6 years now that we've had anything more than a brief debate. And when you think about what has happened in the energy sector in the past 6 years, Mr. President, you're sitting in the chair coming from a state that has seen an amazing boom when it comes to natural gas production in your state. You've seen technologies come in that are able to access areas that you didn't even know you had the resource there. Think about the changes that we have seen in the energy sector in 6 years. 6 years ago, we were talking about building LNG import terminals so we could bring LNG in from other countries. Now we are pressing the case for greater LNG exports. We're trying to build out more facilities so that we can move this abundant resource from our shores to help our friends and allies around the world. 6 years ago, if I had stood on this floor and suggested to you that we were going to have a debate about export of our crude oil from this country, you would have laughed me off the floor. Nobody was talking about it. But look what is happening coming out of the Bakken up in North Dakota, what's coming out of Texas and New Mexico and out of California, Colorado, out of states in the Midwest. We are producing, Mr. President, like we have not produced in ages. And we're doing so because we've got the benefit of good, strong technologies that are allowing us to access a resource safely and making sure that we're being good stewards of the land while we're doing it and creating jobs and opportunities. So when you think about what's happened in 6 years and the fact that we haven't had a real debate and a conversation about energy, so it's no wonder that people want to present amendments. But we're in a situation now where there's real debate about whether or not we're going to have any amendments at all. Mr. President, we've been sitting here in the Senate since last June, almost a year, and it's been 8 amendments that have been allowed, of the Republicans choosing, to be heard, to be entertained, to be taken up on the floor of the United States Senate. We are not asking for an unreasonable request. Given, again, everything that's going on in the world, everything that's happening in the energy sector, it is understood as to why we would want an opportunity to present amendments. But we're not asking for the moon here. Out of all the amendments filed to the bill, we're seeking votes on 4 of them. If we were to take just 15 minutes per vote with a little extra time for statements in support or opposition, we could work those out in an afternoon. There is no reason that we need to stretch this out. Our other option is to spend the next several days arguing about whether or not we're going to vote at all. We're sent here to do good work, and this is a venue where the work is demanding attention. So let's get to it. Let's advance these measures. Let's get to the debate about whether it's LNG export opportunities, whether it is the advantage from many different perspectives about the Keystone XL pipeline, about what more we can be doing as a nation to be a world leader with our energy resources, accessing our resources for the good of Americans, for the creation of jobs, to strengthen our economy, to help our trade deficit, to help our friends and our allies. We can be positioned to do so much more, but we have to be able to get beyond to the discussion, the debate about whether we're just going to talk about whether we're going to talk about it or whether we're going to get to it. So, Mr. President, I'm hopeful that throughout the afternoon, throughout tomorrow, throughout the balance of the week, we will have an opportunity to discuss and to vote on amendments that are energy-related amendments that will help move this country in a more positive direction when it comes to our energy policy, and attach that to a fundamental anchor of a good, strong energy policy, which is energy efficiency, and that's what the Shaheen-Portman bill allows us to do.